Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're totally ditching the traditional countdown format because we are going to conduct a really fascinating biological study. We're essentially putting on our research biologist hats to figure out exactly how some of the most extreme animals on Earth manage to cheat starvation. I mean, just imagine being trapped underground, buried beneath dry Earth with absolutely no food, no fresh water, and zero sunlight. For you, me, or most organisms, that's pretty much a rapid death sentence, right? But nature? Well, nature always finds a way. Certain animals have evolved these completely unbelievable survival abilities, outlasting intense hunger for months, years, and, no joke, even decades. Okay, let's take a quick look at our agenda for today's study. We've got 1. The extreme survival problem. 2. Mastering metabolic suppression. 3. Strategic energy reserves. 4. Radical biological transformations. 5. The cryptobiosis phenomenon. And finally, 6. The future of human biology. All right, let's jump right into section 1, the extreme survival problem, or the limits of baseline biology. So to truly appreciate these wild adaptations, we first kind of have to understand the severe biological stakes of being trapped in a completely resource-depleted environment. Think about it. You and I, a human being under optimal conditions, might survive just a few weeks without food. It's a pretty strict biological limit. But then, look at the Olm. This pale, blind little salamander hidden deep inside the dark caves of Europe can survive nearly an entire decade without a single meal, literally almost 10 years. From a biological viewpoint, this massive evolutionary gap instantly frames why this research matters so much. Food inside those caves is incredibly scarce, so the Olm evolved to basically hit the pause button on its biological needs. Moving on to section 2, mastering metabolic suppression, also known as the evolutionary art of stillness. Let's look at our first category of survival mechanisms. This is where animals triumphed not by, hunting harder, but by radically slowing down their internal engines. 430 million. That's a staggering number. That is exactly how long scorpions have been successfully surviving on this planet. As biologists, we look at scorpions as these perfect living survival machines. They actually possess one of the absolute slowest metabolisms in the entire animal kingdom. So instead of wasting energy constantly running around searching for prey, they just remain perfectly still, sometimes for days, sometimes for weeks. By carefully storing every single calorie they consume and minimizing any energy output, some scorpion species can literally fast for an entire year. When we put these extreme fasting durations side by side, a really fascinating picture emerges. You've got the crocodile, which is utilizing this ancient body design that hasn't really changed in 200 million years, just remaining almost motionless so it can stretch a single large meal for several months. Then you have the scorpion going a full year. And finally, the Olm, achieving the absolute slowest metabolism ever recorded in a vertebrate to survive for almost 10 years. So the big takeaway here, whether it's a reptile, an arachnid, or an amphibian, extreme energy conservation through absolute stillness is a perfectly valid and highly successful survival strategy. Which brings us to section 3, strategic energy reserves, fat conversion, and extreme recycling. Now we're stepping up the biological complexity a bit. This next group of animals actively converts dedicated bodily reserves into pure survival fuel under some of the most punishing environmental conditions on Earth. Minus 50 degrees Celsius. Just let that sink in for a second. Male emperor penguins endure those freezing temperatures, plus hurricane-force winds in Antarctica for nearly 4 months. And here's the biological marvel. They eat absolutely nothing during this entire time. After the female lays the egg and heads off to the ocean, the male stays behind, literally balancing the egg on his feet. He survives entirely by burning his own highly strategic stored body fat to generate heat and energy. By the time the female gets back, he might have lost nearly half his body weight, but that incredible fat conversion mechanism kept him and his offspring alive. Meanwhile, if we shift from extreme cold over to extreme heat, we see this incredible biological synergy in desert environments. A lot of people think camels just store water in those humps, right? Actually, scratch that. They're storing emergency fat. They slowly convert that fat into energy, while their highly efficient kidneys recycle internal water. It's brilliant. Similarly, the desert tortoise retreats to cool underground burrows to drastically slow its metabolism. And to survive those devastating droughts, it actively recycles water stored right inside its own bladder. I know, it sounds a little gross, but from a biological standpoint, it is an absolute masterclass in internal resource management. Section 4, radical biological transformations, aestivation and organ shifting. Let's see how this builds from simple energy storage into active anatomical changes. We're talking about an animal's actual internal organs transforming to handle long periods of starvation. Take the Burmese python. It utilizes this amazing biological on and off switch. Because when prey is rare, maintaining a highly active digestive system is just a massive waste of energy. So, when the python finally does swallow a large meal, nearly every internal organ radically alters. Its heart actually enlarges. The intestines expand. Digestive enzymes completely flood the stomach. And the moment digestion is finished, boom, everything shrinks right back down to normal size. This dynamic shifting allows them to conserve enormous amounts of baseline energy during long fasts. Now, another radical transformation happens when rivers completely disappear during severe droughts. Most fish would obviously just die, but the African lungfish, it buries itself deep inside the mud, surrounds itself with a protective mucus cocoon, and enters something called estivation. This is an astonishing emergency protocol. The lungfish's heartbeat drops, breathing becomes minimal, and its metabolism nearly shuts off completely. In this totally natural sleeping bag, the lungfish can literally sleep for years until the rain finally returns. And hey, it's not just fish and reptiles pulling these tricks. Every winter, American black bears enter hibernation. Now, you might think hibernation is just a long nap, but it's incredibly different from ordinary sleep. For up to 7 months, these bears eat nothing, drink nothing, and rarely move. Yet their biological transformation is so profound that they actually recycle their body's own waste products directly into proteins. Because of this extreme internal recycling loop, they prevent the loss of valuable muscle mass despite fasting for over half a year. Nature's ultimate recycling program, right there. All right, moving to Section 5, the cryptobiosis phenomenon, approaching absolute zero. For our final mechanism, we have to look at the ultimate biological anomaly. We're talking about a state of survival that completely defies our traditional understanding of life, death, and cellular function. As researchers, this is the fundamental mystery we face. What exactly happens when an organism's biological metabolism drops to absolute zero? I mean, it shouldn't even be possible. Yet, this is exactly what happens when we study the microscopic tardigrade, which you might know as the water bear. When conditions become deadly, this little animal just turns off its need for sustenance entirely. They pull this off through a process called cryptobiosis. The tardigrade forcibly expels nearly all the water from its body and curls up into a microscopic, dehydrated ball called a ton. In this state, its biological clock is completely paused. Zero metabolism, zero energy burn. By entering cryptobiosis, the tardigrade becomes almost totally indestructible, surviving for years without a single drop of water or a single morsel of food. And the resilience of the tardigrade in this ton state, it is genuinely mind-boggling. Once their metabolism halts, they can endure the most hostile environments imaginable. Freezing temperatures near absolute zero? No problem. Boiling heat, extreme radiation, enormous crushing pressures deep beneath the ocean, even the literal vacuum of outer space. They endure it all. And the craziest part is, the very moment water returns to their environment, they simply wake up as if absolutely nothing happened. Which leads us to our final section, Section 6, Future of Human Biology, Learning from the Survivors. As we wrap up this explainer, we really need to look at how these extreme animal mechanisms aren't just cool biological oddities. They directly translate to the future of human science. When we map out this biological taxonomy, an undeniable pattern emerges, right? From the Olm's metabolic suppression lasting a decade, to the bear's waste recycling keeping it strong for 7 months, all the way to the tardigrade's cryptobiosis, pausing life for decades, it becomes perfectly clear that nature has already engineered brilliant, field-tested solutions to energy depletion and tissue preservation. We don't have to invent the solutions from scratch. We just have to decode what's already there. And honestly, this is exactly why this research matters to you today. The biological blueprints hidden inside bears recovering muscle mass from waste or microscopic tardigrades surviving the vacuum of space are currently inspiring some monumental medical breakthroughs. By studying dormancy and estivation, scientists strongly believe we can unlock new technologies for preserving human organs for transplant far, far longer than is currently possible. We're even talking about figuring out human hibernation for long-term space travel. It sounds like science fiction, but it's grounded in real biology. So as we continue to unlock the deeply guarded secrets of nature's ultimate survivors, we have to ask ourselves, which of these extraordinary evolutionary tricks will eventually redefine the very limits of human survival? Will it be the olm, the bear, or the tiny tardigrade that gives us the ultimate key to our biological future? Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep questioning the incredible science of the natural world.